Hola, so now we are on the verse 28. Yeah, 28. 大课上就记住吧。em bắt tem bị phê nó ngay rồi is đó 저기 개발이요리 내기 개발이요리 is 다 니딘 로바치 음 다 간지 너도나 아 저걸 때비기 님이 통치 엔디 님이 디 저걸 비게 좀 해보지 그때 저 되다 저다 네 다다라 아니 샤바든 되지 되면 토네 아니 이게 셈 때문에 당긴 슬라브나 자원이네 연구 연구 말이스 저장에 그 저도 저 된당 싸바지 내에는 내 싸바지를 땡지 아니 얘기 아 가서 그래 셈데 때문에 당긴 세지 다디 그 조우들에도 와 어디 지금
So at the beginning, we were dealing with the section which is to do with the benefits or qualities of uh, uh, relying on isolated or remote places, and in a sense, and within that within the subsection of that text, there are various distinctions that are given for the in relation to these benefits, such as the distinction of the company we keep, the distinction of the specific place, the distinction of livelihood, of individual discernment and non-distraction, getting undistracted. And we've sort of gone through the first two of these in terms of the benefits of isolated places in relation to company, and also in the company we keep, and also in relation to the place itself. And also, but what we're sort of trying to say is that is the main thing is the sort of avoidance of attachments that come up, and the thing, and therefore preventing us from developing a stable mind. So what we've committed to is trying to we try to commit to creating a stable kind of mind, and therefore we need a new way in which to interact with these with these distinct features. So that, for instance, with a new place, or a new set of new companions or new place, we have to sort of relate in a new way, but the purpose is in order to be able to generate a stable mind.
Also, I think it will be very important when you feel so tired of going out, and then you wanted to go back to your home. If somebody gives you kind of like a place to stay, like it's more comfortable than your place. But then when you go back to your room, your own place, that is incomparable. That it is more relaxing. So also do check that why this comfortable feeling is this through your attachment to your place, or maybe something else. Now do this kind of checking. This is very necessary. So also, even your teacher will give you a room, sit next the kind of like the next door. You can stay, but for a few days you feel grateful, but then you wanted to go to your own place. So why this? Why this? Right? So maybe it is through this comfortable feeling. It is, I think, more to do with your own attachment towards. And attachment is a really funny thing. you don't need so much reason. One good answer to the attachment is, I like it. I love it. And then even the people will give you so many reasons that you need to hate it. But then you will be always deep in it, kind of there's this very string that is so attached to yourself that you don't want to cut it. So do this, find it. So this is the whole point, I think, saying when you move from your place to the cave or the retreat place, you need to answer this question. And then also not only the friend whom you feel like so close to, maybe why you need to bring so much reason that now I need to take a kind of a distance from it. So it's difficult, but we are not doing it because it's difficult. We are doing it for your own good, that you feel with this comfortable feeling, with this kind of a thing, it makes me not better. That makes me more weak. So in order to save yourself from something is going to happen, then you need to make yourself strong. That's why we are changing the places. So now we look at our third one, which is the Choe Chebar, the verse 38. Không se la so ni tse tang, kun le mi ku chang xing, lu de bao ma che jang, jing me never, namshik purus, 28, please.
When shall I come to live without fear, having just a begging bowl and a few odd things, wearing clothes not wanted by anyone, and not even having to hide this body?
This one. I said that in English or Tibetan, just.
It's
just.
Okay. It's the distinction.
Okay. Okay, you translate that, please.
A distinction of it's the distinct features of related to our livelihood, to our livelihood. That's the section.
Okay. Yeah, 다때는 철회 개발을 다른 홍세라 전에도 군림이 그 장신 류된 바와 마치진 looking at this verse, it is more this teaching is more designed for the monks and nuns. But it doesn't mean the person who practices this should be a monk only. Because the reason whatever the Shantideva is giving is all the reason that we need. All the problem is something in common, the monks and nuns and us and lay people, ordinary people, whoever, same. But the monks, they have something extra, and nuns, but all same. So look at how Shantideva talks about the 28 here. As now I would say this in a Tibetan. Shezanga. C'est de kunlumi ku 제장한 de son droit. 통세 c'est du zambe 아니 뭐란지 딱 backing ball 들어봐. Backing ball. 인지 I will say this in English briefly. Who likes to bake? Nobody. Actually, nobody. Because everybody wants to be rich. Isn't it? when you start baking, then it has something saying that in order to bake, you need to see something in this. Otherwise, staying in a very comfortable luxury life and then coming on the street would be such a difficult, because first you need to let go of this reputation, so-called I'm so important, I can be go out with the other people shoulder to shoulder. That's how we say it in the Tibetan. I don't know in English do you say it like this or not. So now then you are there outside, then baking, that will be a huge for the ordinary people. But then Buddha wanted to his follower monks and nuns to bake. Bake? Not a bake, cake bake, but the baking. Baking bowl, that's what we are talking about. So, and then also if you look at, there are few things saying about how the monks and nuns' clothes should be. The monks and nuns, they cannot wear branded ones. Special. The good thing is they don't have a like, I don't know what's that branded. I don't know the names of some expensive brand. The monks and nuns, they cannot do the shopping from there. But what does that mean is, I heard a long time from some of my friends saying, if you look at the monks and nuns' clothes, according to the depend on the country where it comes from, like Tibet, China, Korea, Thailand, India, they have a different colors on how they used to wear. That's a little bit different, but the color of it. So a friend told me that Buddha said that they need to wear which is more kind of a lay people consider this is not a good color, that monks and nuns should wear it. One thing, it becomes a separation from the lay people. And one thing, in order to here in Shantideva it would say saying di kirang lamne yato nye labdo sumare kula miko sayati chezanga danda di nanglola tudin chuji tagbeki drewe nanglola ya kula miko sabati ani di nanglola dido kumbu sos no kumarwa kumbu so de chen kun las deba chenbo kun la nyewar miko ves 다 꼬마 되면 저 용배이나 상관나 몰라 봐 아니 자와다 아니 샤로 꼬마다 잡아 줘이나 거기 막아야기 배주매버디 통원도 준비 꼬마 제백해요 말봐 더더 거기 말봐 온 딘지긴 더버 마지기 아니 그래서 그래 꼬마로 쏘고 저긴 더버 마지기 아니 아니 그 그래도 좀 아주 큰 거래스 다 들은 거는 또 유관으로 이제 다고 들은 그상 이제 정말로 세요 말에 가시기야 와니 이내리 아니 참바이 이내리 다 라마 이내리 기시 이내리 샤나로 진로베나 또지 다고 브랜드 망고들의 탱그로 봐 with the respect I'll be saying Bodhisattva.
So then there's a sort of the Interdenshiki commentary, what he comments on in relation to this verse where it says in the wearing clothes not wanted by anyone. It's the third line in the English. And so in Interdenshiki Drapa's commentary, when he comments on that particular verse, a particular line, what he says is that if the robbers were to come to the room, then they would, and then they would, we should sort of have the clothes clothes or possessions not wanted by anyone, so that if the robbers would come to our room, they would look on those things as sort of unwanted or unnecessary to steal. So in this context where we're sort of a little bit talking more about monastics or monks and nuns, then their sort of clothes and possessions, clothes and others' possessions should be things that when the robbers who come to their quarters would look on as unused or unwanted. Yeah. Okay. It's working, yeah. Now I can't hear you, Rinpoche.
Oh, go ahead.
That's okay, yeah. Could you hear? Yeah, you could hear, yeah. Yeah, and so there would be things that possessions and clothes. They should sort of have possessions and clothes which the robbers who came to their quarters would not even look at or desire. Now, of course, times have changed a little bit, and I say this out of great respect. But now it's possible that in the quarters of monks or nuns, lamas, and geshis, and that it's possible that there are likely to be more sort of branded products than there used to be. But the essence should be that we maintain clothes and possessions which the robbers would not even think to take away.
So that start with me. I have many Apple products, bowls, or whatever you name it, I have it. So I can start with me. Okay. 이제 다들은 꾸는 미고 창조신 류딘 바와 마체장수 따디네가 체지리 류딘 바와 마체장세티 다디 2028기 디나로라 바와 세지도와 사 다투린 추기 잡을 잡아들 직 세고요 세리 단다 차베디 여비나 쉽게 두주르니 니와 메코베스 차다르 차다르 최비 최고 숨단 등원 소지 그점 창신 텔레신에서 다소지 치규기 치유 롱주 진 메베나사 난 랑기 류 장보 장보디 젠베 내손 바와다 진진의 차신지 송을 마체장스 다디 전다디 다 친이 오부 가리 이내 키리아 개매바 즉 캐샬람네 방야 개매드니 즉 도수 여대베 즉 수소라 단 수수기 아니 류디양 아니 전부 원유 당치 고 당아 배낭아란들 배디약 직디 통고도 아니 참내론 되기 슬랍 아니 가로 제네 참내론 되원데 셈부수 독제 아니 다마 되네면디 야 지금 참내론 대비 이내에 않고 장아도 사 대원도 준비 바치로는 돈이 줘 아니 남의 게 상황으로 지 파도스 된지 들려 용야디 르 땅만 봐 타바는 뇌를 차바 되기 때문에 아니 치료도 르 땅만 봐 된지인데 아니 되게 수수기 류디 알바 류디 아니 추르스기 사자간의 요래데 이나에 된데 여당디 온여당의 샤브스 그렇지 잼바세 스토데 디 잼베 네소스 바와 시두 잼베 디 페젠 디르샤 가소레 베비 게제체 다 베비 그 사제 신반에 통마 주고 배배 손으로 치 공유 당치 젠바 세디 젠보 공유 세디 제변에서 바와스 딘디치유메스 제장 알아는 저기 참로론 대백갑라야 다 딘디기 치기 아니 되는도 저다 타른 저백갑라야 가와 개발진 게 해야지
아
이거도 와 대인도 전배 다 딘디 딜레 사비 쇼들이야 아니 말이야다 차바지 주도 전용으로 저원도 전배 땡에 셈 때문에 줘야지 차견 차송 슬라비온도 전배 애네 류디 전배 온요 돈도 샤 마임바 애네 류디 당 셈디도 샤베 깔라야 애네 아주 단데 지제기 깨마송네 제가 good rest 세야데 뭐들이 차고 있으레스 너 디지고 난다
okay, yeah, I couldn't find the passage, but I'll just I'll say what you said, Rinpoche. So there's a passage from Tudrinchigi Drapa which I'll translate and put in the group later on. But the essence of the passage is that the takeaway from it is to in relation to being in isolated places and doing retreat, and what can happen to us is that as we stay in retreat over a period we first go with a great interest, but as we stay in retreat isolated away from others, we can get sort of very slowly, if things don't go quite as planned, we can get very uptight and a little bit sort of stressed out and uptight, and but also having made the commitment to go into a sort of isolated a place to do religious practice, we also will feel like, well, it's really not okay to sort of give it all up and return to where I came from. So we may sit there kind of in the jaws of the sort of distraction, sort of overcome by distracted thoughts, or we may just continue to sort of remain there doing practices such as reciting mantras, but unable to get rid of our sort of distracted thoughts and then and the attachments which come with us with our mind being drawn away to the objects of distraction. And so essentially what's happened is that our body is there, sitting physically there in that retreat place, but you know, the mind has become sort of distracted, uptight, and unhappy, and then so in this condition of in this condition, kazadigi tsemba things tsemba ne se beber machashing say adigi di sonros.
잼바 스주 잼베 잼보 원유 이 push 제발 pressure 소소소소 pressure 제제
Tsemba ne se beber.
너 디도 같은다 데 류디양 디 가자디 말도 가자 디 잡이어 봐 어때 어디도 데데 류 랑기 류 장바 디 잼베 내손 바와당스 잼베 내소스 잼베 지금 사제 잼보스 잼베 제 가서래 디 잼보 온유로 코는 야도 잼보 온유 치니 배나 다당이 배 시에서 소소 라
spirit go the tsemba
spirit 말해 디 저장 저기 류디 별랑전세기 젠드레
란생기세
젠세드 젠세드 저장가 전부 온유 세줄 봐 젠세줄 봐 저장 전부 놓고 먼저 스피릿을 젠세되고 다가랑 받고 온유 등기여 인장고 젠스고 봐 저장가 디 젠세디 아란 주변에 참내 되니 마트베 이나양 안첼 참내 대고고 키고래 그래서 나타 고 캔레유스 봐 예 미망볼 랍삽 당한 다원이 되긴 슬랍서도 다원이 콩기고 요로 맞제나 야 미주 직성 그랬어도 healthy 요 말했어 디 수수수수 pressure 당변은 잼바스 잼보치도 쓰지 제장가 딘데기 아니 딘데 ngegi 아니 사자 타르 물 파데 isolated 돼야디 마랑 오해 쉐베 딘데 means 아니 차신기 제존 저니 아니 나들이 쳐 means 디 제고야디 isolated 돼야디 니 류디 isolated 돼야디 아니 고랑신기 차단계에서 지도 틀 대비나 랑신기 차단계 요인 준이인도 대단 타른 거 대비 있으디.
Yeah, so it talks about, so what it's really talking about is that in terms of, we've sort of, hidden ourselves away in these very isolated places. But what's happened to us, as I was saying, is that, we can't sort of leave the retreat and get out of it because we've sort of we've kind of taken on a commitment that we would stay in retreat. And we've said it to many others that, I'm going to go off for a few months or something like that to do practice in an isolated place. But what's happened to us is that essentially we've gone there to live in that, but we've put a kind of unhealthy we've now sort of hidden ourselves away, but it's created a kind of unhealthy pressure on ourselves and what we have to do is we have to isolate ourselves. So what's happened is that then these other distractions and attachments have come up for us, and that's this unhealthy pressure and these attachments and distractions that come up for us. That's what we need to isolate ourselves from. But what we've actually ended up doing is sort of trap ourselves. We trapped ourselves in a place where we're stuck physically there, but we're not engaged in the purpose that we went for. So the positive process is that the things that if we isolate ourselves from the things which bring us that we wish for, those objects which are the objects of our desires and that then feed us with attachment, if we the things which cause our attachment, the things that we wish for and that then we feel will bring us happiness, and therefore they lead us to greater happiness and greater comfort, if we isolate ourselves away from those and our body and mind is in a place that, if it's done in the correct way, where our body and mind is in this place where we're isolated away from those, then as foreigners are often fond of sort of talking about taking a taking good rest, having good rest. This is really the meaning of where we've actually properly isolated ourselves away from the things that cause us attachment and which cause attachment and distraction, and therefore our body and mind in that place is able to get, as we would say, a proper rest. So we have to avoid getting into that condition where we have kind of put unhealthy pressure on ourselves and are not are stuck in retreat, but we're not doing the purposes of retreat.
Taking a good rest. Like you are so busy, and then your doctor will tell you take a good rest, and then sometimes we say if you are scrolling on your mobile, and then normally we think that person is lying on the bed, very comfortable. But then now we are slowly understanding if you are scrolling on your mobile, we kind of sure he's not taking a good rest. Before, we consider if you watch a movie, or then it's part of taking good rest. But now slowly, because staying on this the device for a long time, also we consider it's not taking a good rest. So why? And not only that, and also thinking a lot without any device, but just thinking about everything. Consider not taking a good rest. It makes you, whatever things that you think about and gives you to take a, what it's called, like a breath, strong breath. Well, how do you say that? Like a deep breath. So all these causes that gives you to take a deep breath, we need to stop that. So that means when you go to the retreat or you are going to do a meditation, first, one of the best preparation is something that you need to stop this kind of what is called harm that will cause you to take a deep breath. You need to stop it. I have the one good example. One great meditator, he will come down from his meditation place during the time of their sojong, the purification day. He will come for that, and then he will come to visit me, and then I will say stay here for 1 or 2 days. Then he said, no, I really miss my retreat place, the place that is so good. Staying here for 2 to 3 days, the way of people's complaining or something, it really just makes something unrestful for me. So when I go there, it's so peaceful. So you go to his retreat place, there's nothing in his room, but he loves his. I won't call it an attachment, because for me, there's nothing to be attached there. But anyway, he loves that because he's taking a good rest. Now some scientists take a kind of a machine treatment or something to check, analyze. Maybe you will find his kind of a mind and these waves of the brain incredible. So this is, I think, taking a good rest. Sometimes we can maybe, if definitions, if you don't want to say to your friend that a retreat or doing months and months retreat, if you don't want to say it, saying you should say something to yourself and to others. I'm going to take a rest now. I'm so tired. And then you go to the retreat. Sometimes you say the retreat very big, heavy name. But in the retreat, you are restless. Okay. Dice, datene, at the end of this verse, it says, when shall I come to live without a fear and not even having hide this body? 디рем도. 다디 인지기 디 피베기 시제 타만다 시제 시제 타만이 로당로 와라 봐. 제가 디나로야 아니 디리샤 탄다. 지범에버 남식 지범에버 직면에버 남식 주루스. The first, the last, what the
Yeah,
when shall I come to live without fear? In English, it's first, but in Tibetan, it's the last. So it's more like, so you should feel like now there's no fear. There's no worry. Now I feel so restful. For how long I can stay like this? this has to come natural. So this is whenever this is missing in you, and you are staying in a retreat, it's unhealthy. So when you feel this, then it's a kind of healthy. Okay, this year. That then the verse 29 dinda. To do song the shendagi rugon dada dagi du jigbe chujen dado ni namshim gonyam chebar verse 29, please.
Having departed to the cemeteries, when shall I come to understand that this body of mine and the skeletons of others are equal in being subjected to decay?
Now, attachment to your body, attachment to self. When we talk about 5 delegates, when you change your way of thinking, discrimination, there's no worry. And then you feel like it change from maybe the feelings always change, but there's no worry. But then the physical body, the form body, that when you feel change or something like a big change that we're talking is that depart from it, then it brings so much kind of a fear that we call death, right? So because nobody wants to die, because at the time of the death, the subtlest attachment is there. I can let it go. What? The body, the base, what you have just feel. This is me. I cannot let this go. So here, we need to. Shantideva is saying that a person who wants to do a good retreat, that he should be very prepared that he has a quite good understanding of the impermanence. So here, when we already read that, isn't it? 29?
Yes.
Okay. So Shantideva, if we look at this verse, which is more like saying you go to the not cemetery, it's a cremation. What's that? A cremation ground. We mostly here we cremate. How would you say that?
Cremate.
Yeah. So then Shantideva is requesting us to go. Then seeing when somebody brings the crop, right? Crops. I see. Crop. The dead body. Yeah. That's better. Be very lazy. That's why I'm not improving my English. So then looking at somebody's dead body, and then he says, we should Gonyamba. How do you say that? Gonyamba. Equal.
Yeah, make ourselves equal with them. Yeah.
Yeah. Equal. What does that really, yeah, level it. What does that mean actually? Your body. We cannot say his body anymore. It's a dead body. Kind of belongs nobody to nobody now. That's why it's easy to burn, right? So what does that really mean actually? You cannot level it up like this. So what does that really mean? So now the best one takeaway in my way of thinking is it's something to do with before the death. That person, somebody's body, used to be somebody's body, that he didn't expect this death is coming. He hold to this body like he's going to live forever. Same thing that he always say, once born has to die. Repeatedly said that, but couldn't let it go. He cling to this kind of permanent. That permanent, very settled, deep inside, cannot let it go, but you always say, has to go one day. But he says that, but cannot connect. He feels it, but he doesn't feel very connected, deeply connected. The sign of the connected, then it's more like you have a water, like early time when they used to have this, in Tibetan we say chuzu. It's more like the water, making a limit on the dripping of the water. And then more the moderate flows, then what one thing it's empty. So there's one cent thing, you just put it upside down, isn't it? Once you're seeing down there is more, and then up it's going to empty out. So then you feel like before it's used to be like this. So it didn't come like automatically like that. So the same, like the death didn't come like this. The death was coming. So we have all the right to say we are dying, but nobody is using this word. Otherwise, if you should say this, it is so rude. But staying on the reality, I think we can accept it. People who has a kind of a validity to stay for 100 years. At the time of he was born, few minutes, few seconds, he already kind of he missed this right to stay for 100 years. Like one of my friend, he's little bit quite a miserly. Right? Miserly sure. Miserly. So one day I told him, sometimes we can go out 10 times, but one day you need to spend later. And he kind of laughed and said, that's true, but it's really hard. Which I always have this in mind. I have like a 10,000, and then spending 100 and 500, then I don't have the courage to say I'm owner of 10,000 now. He has this kind of way of thinking. Similar when we say, I'm going to stay for 100 years. So once you're born, one day passed, you don't have a right to say 100 more days or 100 years. So my teacher would say, like, sometimes we need to see, like, the death is coming on the way, and we are going towards it. So the whole point is not to bring the fear. If it is only to bring a fear, then forget about it. Let's enjoy our life. Don't bring this sort of thing. But in order to bring out something from it, then it's more like we should hurry. We need to generate something. We need to have this way of thinking as a fear. Then, like when we say taking refuge, the best way to have a refuge is when you have fear and you have a trust. When you have a fear in here and then you have a trust in here, more you have fear, more you will bring a trust in that. So that is a very healthy way. So same thing here, Shantideva is saying, bring impermanence. Looking into the impermanent, subtlest, one of the subtlest, that subtlest, more type of engagement, tanda di chiwa se di more type of ton member, was saba, profoundness, segurata, di chiwa di ne saba yimbi 좀 젠치글이야, 아니 아주 그 chiwa di 로율 추모도 비치, 로율 추모도 봐.
Yeah.
그봐. 그나 미디 시샤슬랍도 점베 가담베 라마조 미베이나 다 기주주니 깨버리 시주진 시버스 나주주연은 나버스 딜현토야 게민두스 송의 선발 흘려 샤투요레 이나 안졸라 아니 가상계지 시에지 헬디 시위요이나 다른 쇼고 코통실랍나 아니 그런 가상 수고 탐구 시우지 여바스 좀 생겨네 고 하라면서는 시초고 매비 좀 생들라 그 수고 탐구 여바스 거의 세른 무대에게 아니 이게 디 가수래 디 암지기 라고도 왔으니까 저도 그렇지 디 디가 아주 여자 고디 아니 치워디 사보르샤 세지 치워세디 사보르샤스 그전스나 나랑주 로율이 쇼마토 인자 디 사보스 된다 찍디르 봐 디 인도zambe 딜 프리퍼레이션 주 서제 서야디 아니 미다베기 남샤디 가주에 하고 있나요? 엔 딜레템비 류레체비 차고디 아니 용어다야 드리스 디 단다디 테이크어웨이 디레토 같은데 나나나.
So the takeaway from this, the takeaway from this sort of sense of where we can also talk about death as being not just in terms of talking about its kind of this sort of very this sort of essential quality of it, its nature or something, but also in terms of a kind of profound aspect that death has. And we talk about that profound aspect in the sense that it's something that we just can't get our head round. Whereas for people like us, we can't get our head around it. Whereas if we looked at practitioners like the Kadam Lamas, then they often somebody would come to them and say, so and so died, and the Kadam Lamas would not show great surprise at this at all, but would basically say, well, they were born, so therefore they must die. So there was no kind of great sense of shock of surprise. They wouldn't have a great sense of shock of surprise. Whereas what happens to us is that if you took the case of someone who was in excellent health yesterday or in the morning and then were dead the next day or by evening, then we would someone
I also said that having a dinner. Yesterday night we had a dinner together, and then next morning you found he's dead, and then you go like, how come we had a dinner last night? That is one solid reason. Okay.
Yes. So these are sort of examples of how we haven't got our heads around or taken on board the situation of death, because even somebody doctor kind of said that they just had a checkup. They're described as being in very good health, and then suddenly we find them dead. So death here can be thought of in a profound way. Profound meaning in the sense that it's something that we can't get our heads around at all, and therefore is profound to us. And the preparation for these situations where suddenly somebody prepare ourselves is to sort of cultivate our awareness of the impermanence, which then helps us to reduce our attachment and therefore our surprise at the fact that people can suddenly die.
So in some places in Thailand or this monastery, they have a custom or they have this tradition that they have a dead body before entering to the monastery or wherever there could be one chamber. They have this dead body, so the monks to meditate on. So it's kind of a little bit scary there. But then, if you just every day you look at the dead body, you don't. There's nothing much to take away from here. And then it's really funny. Every day, like a great surgeon, do an operation every day, full of attachment. Didn't work. If looking at the organs and everything, the disgust thing, then it reduce attachment. It is the reason. Then these doctors and the surgeons who everyday work has to have a less attachment towards the body. But I don't think so. So why? Because we need to make a connection. The connection of this, not just seeing this dead body, but seeing if this comes, and then this has to come to me one day for sure, then I don't want to die like that. I want to die differently. That's why we call the late masters, you are the perfect teacher who show me the impermanence. So why we are saying this is they are born, they are dead, but they died in a very different way. We cannot see that they have taken something from this life, but we know they lived, they enjoyed their life very much. That's why we need to have this kind of teaching within us. Otherwise, then it's like a
The Charvakas. Translated sometimes as the hedonists.
The one non-Buddhist saying nobody made this world. Nobody made if you look upon the green peas, so round, nobody made it. It just come like this. So you don't need to worry. The one's dead, one's born, one's dead, no continuation. So stop worrying about all this nonsense about continuation of next rebirth. Then he gave a very bad advice to everybody. He said, has to born, has to die. What is the takeaway from there? Enjoy your life. That's actually what we're doing. That's what it's a kind of a good message, but he didn't show us the real teaching of how to enjoy. But that enjoyment is like very broad. And then we get so confused and we make always a mess out of that. That's the problem. So, like the Chavacast said, should enjoy, but it's not something that simple. So it is, we should always ready for the karsatanda, the nalola sumbanashin, gonyom cheburis, gonyomba, the leveling out senere, any the city equal seti, so the karasana, any king sumbanashin cheche, Sanji Jumden Digi, yes, the Tibeti people again la. And Sanji Zabati, Alola Kutambil Zabayori, and Tini Kunyanil David Zabaji Zeshas, the Kunyanil David Zabadinga, those Lola Chukabotos, Kajan Sanji di Karsori, Chiwa the Mochibus in the Chiwa Kora Yomari, Chedon Koran Rawa Yodebre, the Koran Shushan Digribas, and Karachin 고치고 그랬어요. 디 디버들이 경기 렌즈견이 이 경기 들이야. 상계기 제베나로라야 개와디 때 디슈고를 치워지 된지 디버루기 제바디 안주네야레스. 안주기 개와디에 다가라인도 상계기 개와다가 다가란 시고요 그랬어. 세상에 랍자디 가랬으나 아 디네 디버도 드로인스. 차라인 디네 디버도 드로야레스. 이나양 로당의 도선 조쇼스 대신 시합과 세는 시체제 안조양 대신 시합과 제고 예스 제장가 냠낸 디다부 체제는 바식스를 좀 로비기스레스 딘 로야 라브레스 디송만한 신체제 제장가 안조기 단다 레벨 수단으로부터 고 디니 란주다 디케치슈딩은 디 내가 지슈디 때나 참관한도야 고물라도 맞아보 응원들이야 아니 그냥 뭐를 쉐비나 삼 대사들 소소의 기부러지 중 참관한도들이 소소 고민잡서들 기부러지 중원도 잠배 될 때문에 차고도 맞이해 된다라 아니 고치와도 양양도 채원도 잠배 최 지주여 봐 누중 초시 용주여 봐 될 때문에 개완나서 지금 용도 잠배 아니 단다 까담배기 라마도 송건나신 아니 알아 최망고지 지주지 도스 최망고 시고지 도스 지체 도스 남샤 이나양 뒤시 탐지는 초도 주버 미답이 쉬들이샤스 될 디지 총나 마 참마 용야 지다 디마 총나 지마 용야 지르샤스 지장가 디야고도가
And so, so talking in terms of these of this kind of leveling out, or sort of making ourselves sort of drawing a sort of parallel with the others and equalizing and leveling ourselves out with them. So, how does that process sort of take place? And I remember once asking my teacher a question about. In terms of the Buddha, and asking him, well, he's born into this world, and then at the beginning of the historical life, and then he passes away into Nirvana at the end of his life. And I've always found it sort of a little bit difficult to get my head around the idea of why did the Buddha pass away or pass into Nirvana? If we talk about the Buddha as being someone who's gone beyond death. And has their own power over such factors as death, then I once sort of offered up a question to my teacher about why would he pass away? What would the need to pass away to pass into Nirvana? And Gen's answer was that at the beginning of the Buddha's life, you have his birth, and then at the end of the Buddha's life, you have his passing, his appearance of death and passing into Nirvana. But what was the advice to us from? But then there are so these are the deeds. These are included within the deeds of the Buddha. So then the birth and the death are included in the deeds, but between the birth and death there are another a whole series of deeds that the Buddha performed. And what we need to know is the advice is to be able to go to sort of act in ways which would in which we would go, like literally, as we say in Daishin Shepa, to go in that way, to go beyond in that way. So we should also go proceed in this way, as a kind of advice about how to proceed between our births and between our deaths, and the things we should do in between. Now, as to how we should proceed like they have proceeded in their lives, the Buddha's example. So another way of sort of leveling out, leveling out here is to, and which is a very important point before we even get into retreat, before we were to go into retreat, thinking about and trying to sort of, not that sort of a attachment that comes up to the idea of imagining what it'll be like in retreat and how it'll all be set up and all of those things. But getting before all of this, one very important point that Kadamba Lama yeah, so the Kadamba Lama sort of have said that in their advice to us is to sort of in terms of preparing ourselves for those kinds of for retreat, for instance, for retreat, is to have a small number, things like a small number of wishes, to be able to be content with what we've had. All of those are a kind of grounding before we head to retreat, and to help reduce our attachments. But also, they said that within we've explained many teachings, expounded many teachings on Dharma subjects, but if we looked within all of those Dharma subjects, what would be the most important factor that we have sort of taught? And they would say it's the teaching on impermanence. And that if we can get our head around impermanence, then in terms of our Dharma practice, everything will come to us. But if we are unable to get our head around impermanence, without it, then nothing, our Dharma practice, nothing will come to us. So this is the advice to us from, again, from the Kadam Lamas.
In Tubden Chögyö Thaba, page 463, what I just said about the going but to leveling out, these leveling out is not other than thinking of the impermanence. That's what Tubden Chögyö Thaba said it. Maybe Simon, when you find this, I will take a picture and I will send it to you. So then you can also take this, there's maybe like 2 lines,
yeah.
So you can translate it. So then people will, when they look at the verse number 29, so when it talks about equaling or the leveling, then they will have some idea. So it's more to during in the retreat, when the distraction or maybe this laziness comes, in order to take this laziness, then if you don't think the time is running out, then you are going to build one more distractions there. It's a very funny distraction, because normally we are so distracted with all this the 5 senses, right? Fives. But then during the time of the retreat, when you didn't bring your iPad or iPhone or a mobile with you, you don't have any signal where you are doing the retreat, then it's more about distraction from the 6th sense, which is the consciousness, through the consciousness. So then you have all this imaginary, all these projections will come out. Beautiful, but still distraction. But normally you don't use this much. At that time, full all this past and all this future that you bring into your mind. So sometimes it's good when you are not in the retreat, but at the time of the meditation, now you need to, this is the main thing that you are going to say it's the obstacle. So with this way of thinking of accepting the impermanence, and then thinking a little bit about the subtlest way that you feel before achieving something happens, then what will happen? So with this preparation, makes you much stronger, not weak. So like my teacher would always bring this example when he talks about the impermanence, saying in India, if you are, the example it's very suitable in India with the Indian train. So in India, like Germany or Switzerland, and some very punctual. So sometimes they come before, I don't know. But so normally, normally it's on the time. So you just stay around and then you feel like, okay, time. Then you know. But in India, you never know. You never know. So it will not stay. It comes and it not stay more than maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So then you need to put all your belongings, and you have your kind of backpacks and bags. You need to be very prepared. Thank you for doing this to us, to remember, like you need to be bring all the awareness, and then you're so ready, and then the train is here, you just jump in, and then you feel like relaxed. So similar like this. So with this kind of preparation, when now our final destination comes, that's the point where we are meditating still in the kind of the cremation ground, saying now at the time that person who's lying there, that body, he didn't get this kind of preparation. Maybe he out of so much fear, so much kind of crying, so much worry, he passed. But for me, I'm not going to die like this. In my death chamber, I was more relaxed. I could just tell my friends, die like me. Huh? All right. So this is the greatest examination of your life now, right? So this distinguish between a practitioner and non-practitioner. So you just hold your friends or your parents or your children's hands. With this kind of having a fear that is coming, it helped me to die very smoothly. So now I'm giving this tip to you. So you don't need to go to Dharamsala and learn Buddhism or something. But this is the very raw teaching, saying how I kept my mind very healthy. I lived in an environment full of distractions and so much kind of nonsense, but my mind very, very stable. So you should die like me. That's the best antidote, best teaching. So something like that. That's what Shantideva is preparing us. Okay. 这son 현다기 루건다다들 집이 취재니더니 남신 권념 쳐버려. It's a kind of bringing so much confidence. It's in the earlier part, there are so many complaints. I don't know now in the West, maybe people become much more logo cherdual karsikre.
I say,
Logo cherdua.
sort of courage, not cowardly or timid maybe, Rua.
Coward marda, coward's na logo meber, wa?
Okay, yeah. So more confident, probably more confident.
More confident, maybe more familiar, maybe with these teachings of impermanence and death. Before some Lama went, and then they didn't speak actually the Nalanda tradition way of Buddhist teaching, and then they start with this Lamrim, and then especially when it started with the first scope, then started with the impermanence, the death, and then few from the audience, some people left saying, I'm not going to attend this kind of teaching because my life is full of the anxiety and fear and everything. And this Lama comes up and show it in our place, and then he frightens more. We don't need this kind of teaching. So it's nothing about giving you a fear. This is not the purpose. Like one day, my friend was driving from the highway up to Chandigarh, then to Delhi. The roads are very wide and they can run quite fast. So my friend is a fast driving person, and then I told him slow down, and then he never slowed down. And so like this, I have this confidence. Just relax. He drives, and then I feel like something gonna happen. And then I just meditate on, if something happens to me, then what is something that I will feel something to to sem the
To be
feel
sort of not depressed, but kind of
not depressed. If you have something precious, something loose, so that's good. Something to lose. If you have something precious, like you wanna like $100,000, and then your friend is driving crazy, and then you feel like slow down. Then automatically your awareness goes like, I still need to enjoy the $100,000 there. So there is something like, it's too early to die. Come on. So you feel like you will lose something. Then I thought, like, what is something that if something happened and we get into an accident and something terrible happens, what is something that I feel I will lose something? And for a few minutes, I couldn't answer myself. And I feel so shameful to myself that I call myself a practitioner, and there's something I cannot answer instantly like this. So here, Shantideva is giving you to meditate on impermanence, but if he haven't given you any kind of things to lose, that you feel the death sudden comes, and then you haven't applied anything in your life, I feel very waste of my life. And then we can say, I don't want to listen to this. But from the chapter 1 until here, he always reminded us, this is such a great qualities. And this can be, we can generate, we can achieve this. So then now he's telling us, now we have all this information. And now in order to make this familiar with this kind of practice, we need a meditation. And then in order to get into meditation much stronger, or the motivation to do it much faster, then we need this impermanence push us. So this is the whole, I think the connection, it works like that. So maybe we could say, if the person is not thinking about impermanence every day, and that practitioner is not a great practitioner. Can we say that? Like the person is meditating on emptiness, but without having a motivation of the impermanence. Maybe we need to check again. Bodhisattva was meditating on bodhicitta, enjoying a lot. The tears are coming out, but still he does not have this motivation of impermanence. Because when I have a logic why I'm saying this. Like if you look at these three scopes, the three scope is not that there are three different people in this room. The three scopes are based on one person, that he has all these three different sets of the mind, which is like a stage. The first scope, second scope, and third scope. It's related. So on the first scope, what its teaching is all about is getting ready, impermanence. But this is the first one. And with this, then we need to find the second one, and then third one. So if this is not very strong, the base, and then whatever you have built, it has to collapse, isn't it? So that's what I'm saying. Okay, thank you. Dedication, please.
Having thoroughly investigated in accord with all that I have heard, day and night through the four reasonings, mind born of reflection on these topics of contemplation, may this discernment sever all doubts. And the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma. By completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Ajdara. I fully dedicate all these virtues to be able to train just like the hero Manjushri, who knows reality, and just like Samantabhadra as well. I fully dedicate all my roots of virtue with dedication praised as the best, by all the gone beyond victorious ones of the three times in order to have good conduct. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid.
Okay. Thank you.